Many of you have taken our trainings before. You know that we are a nonprofit movement partner. We do online organizing, strategy, training, and staffing to engage members and win campaigns. We've trained staff and leaders from 2,200 groups in our first 6 years, and we're all members, proud members of the Pacific Media Workers Guild. So the goal of this program is to make your graphic design more powerful as an organizing tool. And so it's both, it's a combination of skill building and also building sensibility, aesthetic sensibility and instinct around design, and especially design for organizing. Who this is for and what level of proficiency: this is designed for beginner to intermediate designers, as well as organizers, communications, development staff who have been creating graphics as part of their job. And the time commitment per week is, we figure 2 to 4 hours in addition to session time. So it's a 10-week program with 12 sessions. So there's 2 weeks in which there's 2 sessions. The session's an hour and 15 minutes. And so you can figure in general for the 10 weeks, it'll be about an hour and a half average of session time, and then an additional 2 to 4 hours. And the 2 to 4 is just because, you know, if you're a total beginner and you're learning all the tools from scratch, it's going to be more. If you have already quite a bit of experience with tools and you just really want feedback and you want to like hone in a bit more, it might be a little less. And what makes this an apprenticeship? So part of it is the length. So it is 12 sessions over the 10 weeks. It'll be mostly held on Tuesdays, a couple of Thursday sessions from 3 to 4:15 p.m. Lots of feedback on your work is part of what makes it an apprenticeship. There will be assignments so that you get direct feedback on particular assignments, but also there will be places where whatever you're working on, you can share and get feedback on. It's designed as a small group, specifically to make it more responsive, more able to really be a discussion within a community of peers. And there's a certification at the end. So active participation in the live sessions is key for that and will be required, you know, to be certified. But basically it's a real intensive program. Okay, and so now I'm going to turn this over to, actually Marie is going to start off, and then you'll hear, what we're going to do is the instructors are going to very quickly walk you through some of the work they've done for different movement groups, so you kind of get a sense of what their experience is and what their work looks like. And then we will focus in on the curriculum, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So Marie, you want to start off?
Sure. I'm in Chicago. I saw a few Chicago people joining. Hello. Yeah, I'm going to focus on some work that I've done with SMT. In my other parts of my life, I am active in the women's and LGBTQ movements, and I do a lot of pro bono for groups in Chicago. So, and with SMT, I worked on this campaign for a news guild, and started as a flyer, and it eventually turned into a landing page, and then we made it into some other things like a postcard. But this was all kind of a comprehensive campaign to, you know, get the word out about this particular news guild's issues, and to target some of the people involved. So yeah, this is an example of the kind of work that SMT does, and that I've worked on for them. And this other project is a union where we're showing an infographic showing their social media progress over the years. I initially made this in 2016, and we've been updating it every year, showing their progress, and they've done a great job with their social media efforts. But this is a great tool for them to show people, you know, what they're doing in the social media space. And it's, you know, kind of a different look and feel from the previous pieces. We're going to talk about how to tailor your message and the way you're portraying the work, and the way you're making, you know, the way you're fitting the imagery to the message. So.
Thanks, Marie.
Hello, everybody. This is Poonam. I actually have been, for the past 15 years or so, have been working with Design Action Collective, which is a worker-owned cooperative in Oakland, California, that does visual communications for social justice organizations. I'm currently not working there, but that is my experience, is working with different social movement organizations, local, national, and international, and serving their visual communication needs, both print and web, and just different multimedia. So I'm just gonna talk through a little bit of my some of my work here. This is a poster that was created for the No Papers, No Fear campaign. It's for, this was during like about 2012 to 2013. There was a bus called Undocubus that was going around the country with undocumented immigrants coming out of the shadows and telling their stories through an art campaign. And this was a piece submitted through Design Action Collective for that campaign. This was a piece created for the Haiti Food Solidarity Network, which is basically the Haiti Action Committee in coalition with some food justice groups in Oakland, just kind of making the connection between food justice work in Haiti and here in Oakland. And it was a film series. This was a poster for that. This was a postcard that was created for SB 1070. That was a racial profiling law in Arizona, and there are obviously several other ones like that in the country. And then this is something for the Chinese Progressive Association in San Francisco, their 45th anniversary celebration. It's this concept of sort of like harnessing the power of 1,000 rivers, which is just all the organizing work that they've done that's intergenerational and like across lines in terms of a lot of different things, but they just kind of like harnessing the power of that. That was the concept. And this was their whole invitation suite and the save the date cards and everything for their event. This is a poster that was done for Design Action Collective's 10-year anniversary, which was on International Women's Day. And it was a poster about speaking out against gender violence. These are just a little small sampling of websites that have been done. And so this is, one of them is for Manohar Raju, who is currently the public defender of San Francisco, replacing Jeff Adachi. We have the National Black Worker Center Project. I know someone's here from the LA Black Worker Center Project. Hello. And the Center for Racial Justice in Education. This is a small sampling. This is a flyer for our beloved Reams in Fruitvale Plaza in Oakland, California, and a flyer for their summer Sahara community events.
Great, thank you, Poonam. Jules.
Hey everybody, so excited to be here. For the last 8 years, I've done design with grassroots organizations in the communication strategy and photo video work and other trainings, so we could just dive into a couple of these examples. This one that you're looking at here is a website I just finished last week for the Reform LA Jails ballot initiative, supported by a bunch of groups, including Black Lives Matter and Patrisse Cullors, who's on the hero image there. The goal here is to cancel the McCarthy contract for a new jail that is proposed in LA. And it serves as a sort of lead generation, so to get a lot more folks on the list to then next year support the ballot initiative and build alternatives to incarceration in LA. And this is a poster campaign for an organization called Art with Impact. And they host 2 different workshops in the US and Canada. One is for mental health on college campuses, and the other is addressing sexual violence on college campuses. And so the goal here is to create these different posters, but still have a uniting visual theme. This is in a different vein. It's an identity for the group Center for Jewish Nonviolence. One of the things I think it's interesting here is the use of an identity, but different components of that across different collateral pieces. And this was an advertisement placed in The Nation magazine with the organization Jewish Force for Peace, where I was on staff for 4 years. And it features a Palestinian poet, Doreen Tatour, who was imprisoned for a poem that she posted on YouTube. And so there's a large campaign, both this print ads and a whole website and petition with very notable signatories calling for her release, and she was released. This is for the Young Lords in New York. And they're actually from four years apart, but I brought both of them in together because one was a poster as part of an exhibit. One is a website that just launched last week at younglordsny.org. If you're in New York, there's some amazing events there celebrating their 50th anniversary, but also thinking of the theme tying these two identities together. And this I included because also with Jewish Force for Peace, because it was done in Canva. And I know a lot of folks have access to Canva, use Canva, have a lot of questions about Canva. And so I wanted to show, okay, yeah, you can do some cool things in there, showing infographic style. This is a poster for Bay Area Stop Urban Shield Coalition. I also wanted to sort of broaden and think through messaging as well, because what Urban Shield is a weapons expo that's heinous in all sorts of ways. I won't go into all the reasons why. And as designers, sometimes it's our role to show exactly what we're advocating for with Sanctuary as our shield, as sort of a messaging reframe. And this was also with Jewish Force for Peace and was part of the Return the Birthright campaign, where young Jews were literally using this ticket in a direct action, dropping it in a giant box, and showing that no, they will not travel to occupy Palestine because it's contributing to the theft of their land. So using design as a sort of artistic activism tool. Yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about, but we'll end there.
Cool, fantastic. So now we are going to walk through the curriculum. And we're just going right off the web page that everyone has access to. And what we thought we would do is just walk through the sessions very briefly. We can, if people have questions and want to go deeper on anything, we can, but this is just a really brief overview. And we're just gonna, the instructors are gonna jump in with whichever, in general for sessions, there will be two instructors. Two of the three instructors will be in each of the sessions, I think with the exception of the skill building leveling up, which are going to be run by Marie. But for now, we're going to have the lead person who's doing the session say a few words about each. So Poonam, you want to start?
Sure. So we're going to jump into the training with the first session, which is the most important in terms of making sure that your design is based on a strategy. So you know what your goals are, who your audience is, what the point of the piece is, what is the distribution plan going to be, what format is best fitting the project that you need to be doing. And so this first session is going to be talking about those things and also going over some tools and resources that we're going to be using.
Okay, for session 2, I'm going to be leading that, Principles of Graphic Design. Last year I taught Good Design for Organizing, Tools and Design Principles, and you guys will watch that as an overview, and then we'll kind of level set in terms of where we're at with skills, just to make sure everyone's on the same page, understanding the principles, and we'll look at some real life examples and, discuss, where we want to take these principles and the work that we're doing. And then after that, we're going to be doing a Canva leveling up session. So most likely we'll have a poll in session 2 to see people's skill levels in Canva. And then session 3, we can address, the things that are really outstanding that most people kind of want to focus on for Canva. Even if it's your very first introduction to Canva, we'll just make sure everyone's on the same page.
Sorry for the delay. This is me. We're going to be diving into a lot of things in this session, knowing when you're faced with that export screen, whether to choose JPEG or PNG, things like that. This will also be very helpful in understanding file formats and export settings for exporting things for the printer. And if the print house comes at you with a question and uses terms like bleed or CMYK or color separations that you don't understand, that will hopefully will never happen again once we cover this. And I think this session is also going to be helpful for working with outside designers and knowing the terms that you need to use to get them to to produce work that is useful across any platform you're going to be using it for.
Okay, and then we're going to do another leveling up session in Photoshop. So, once again, I think we'll do a poll to see where everyone's at and focus on where our needs are in terms of individual skill sets.
And this is going to be an in-depth project critique, our first one, about midway through. So we'll have enough time before this to be able to understand some principles, understand the software, and you'll be producing things that are hopefully extremely relevant in what you will use in your organizing work, so that it's a great use of your time. And we'll use the experience of the teachers to sort of give you some design feedback on your work and how to approach it better, as well as the sort of project critique is also throughout the whole 12 sessions in the Slack channel. So this is one of those in-depth dives to that.
All right, and the next one is going to be a session, maybe many of you all know about the Center for Story-Based Strategy. So this is actually going to be based on their tools. It's like trying to understand story-based and narrative strategy, and the power of storytelling and how it affects, the design that you produce. And so this is going to be going over some of their tools and strategies to make our designs more strategic and appeal to people's emotions.
Cool. And then session 8 is another leveling up session. And also for all the Adobe software, I'll be talking about free or cheap alternatives to people who might not have access to the Adobe Creative Suite. We can talk about how do you make vector-based illustrations and designs? How do you make bitmap-based illustrations and designs without Photoshop or Illustrator too? But we will be focusing mostly on Illustrator, and once again to suit whatever your needs are.
And then the next session is going to be about the process of design and writing creative briefs. And so this is going to be like everything, all the preparation that goes into thinking through your designs and stuff before you actually get working on it. So this is going to be about like thinking through all the different elements that you need, like in creating a brief originally, and then what the process is going to be in terms of project management, creating style guides or following style guides that already exist, and creating consistency in design.
And then we'll have another project critique session. I think this one will be led by you, Poonam, and the first one was led by me, but you'll have access to all the teachers. And then we'll go into a graphic design for website session where you won't learn JavaScript by the end of it, but you will know all of the design principles when they're applied to the platform of web, and that applies to mobile as well. So there are a lot of things to know regarding typography, regarding how people engage with websites, regarding accessibility and best practices there that are often really ignored. So highlighting those are really important. And then for session 12, the final one, we're going to go into some more advanced design psychology and practice. So things like the Gestalt principles that are really the bedrock of any visual communications used. I think a lot of you all have probably used this, maybe without knowing, maybe with knowing, but being able to name the principles at play has been one of the main things that have helped my designs be more impactful. Is also quicker to create if you know exactly what principle you're applying. I don't flounder around for an hour before deciding on where the type is going to be placed or what font to use. And then we'll also go into some more psychological principles, expanding the definition of design, not just creating a static visual, but also understanding that we're in the field of human communication and persuasion, for the better, but it's still persuasion. So how do we leverage human emotion to the best of our ability?